My name is Michael Grelli. This is episode 70 of SYNGAP1, your 10-minute weekly brief on everything you know about SYNGAP1. Today is Friday, August 12th, 2022, and yesterday we had a webinar with Ciitizen, Invitae, and Praxis. And it was an incredible webinar. Normally I would tell you everything that's going on and everything that's coming. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to talk about that webinar and what it means. And hopefully you'll be so excited about this webinar at the end of this episode, you're going to go listen to that webinar. But let's take a step back. Here's the picture I want to paint for you. It's a very important picture. Let's pretend that one of the drug companies we're talking to develops a drug. And let's pretend that in neurons and in mice in the lab, that drug cures SYNGAP. And let's pretend they're so excited about it that they take their precious staff and their precious money and their precious production capacity, they make enough drug and they have a clinical trial. Let's pretend that they recruit 10, 20, whatever number of patients into that trial. And that they give this drug to our kids and that our kids get better. The seizures go down, the intellect goes up, the sleep gets better. But the way they gather data is broken. What if they're measuring the wrong things? What if after all that work, after we've put something into our children that makes our children better, because they measured the wrong things, the FDA does not approve it and that drug is not available? This would be a tragedy. And understand that it is a very real possibility that has happened to other rare diseases, where people have had to either go back to the drawing board, and if they had the money and the appetite and the time, they had to do the trial again, or good drugs just sat on shelves because they failed to measure the right thing. That's the scary part. Here's the hopeful part. Oh, let me stay with scary for a second. Right now, one of the things the FDA asks people to do is have parents do seizure diaries before and after a drug. And then they say, hey, look, the parents measured less seizures, so maybe the drug is working, blah, blah, blah. As every single SYNGAP parent knows, our children's seizures are so subtle that it is really hard to know if your child has drop seizures or if your child has a tonic-clonic. We all get that. But our kids have a lot of absence seizures and eyelid myoclonia that are really hard to measure. And if we had a therapy for SYNGAP today and we just use seizure diaries to measure them, the data would be a hot mess, and there is a chance that the FDA would not be satisfied that a drug worked, even if we knew the drug was working, because the sleep got better and the intellect got better and the sentences got longer and the behaviors reduced. All these things that are really hard to measure. So the scary scenario here is that people who are developing drugs and genetic therapies that can and should help our children won't know how to develop a clinical trial to prove to the FDA that it works and to get the FDA's permission to market that drug in the United States. This is what keeps me up at night. This is why SRF raises money and invests in clinical trial readiness, because this is a serious and real possibility. Okay, that's the scary part. Let's stop being scared. Let's go to a hopeful future. We know that there are two companies working on SYNGAP1 right now publicly, and I've assured you that privately other companies are thinking about it too. And those two companies are Stoke in partnership with Acadia and Praxis. Today we're going to talk about Praxis. Praxis is serious about SYNGAP1. I talked about this in episode 58. Go look up episode 58. I'll put a link in the show notes if you don't know what I'm talking about. Praxis is an amazing company. And today we had a webinar with Praxis and with Invitae/Ciitizen. So we had Virginie, who you all know worked for Ciitizen, now works for Invitae, because Invitae bought Ciitizen, and is a SYNGAP mom and a member of our board of directors. Virginie's amazing. We had one of her colleagues from Ciitizen and Invitae too. And then we also had Kelly Dalby, who is one of the senior folks over at Praxis, and one of her colleagues. And what they were doing was asking us to do a 30-day seizure tracker. And what that means is you go to your inbox, if you're in Ciitizen, and I'll come back to that in a second, why you need to be in Ciitizen. If you're in Ciitizen, you already got an email. You go, you open that email, you click through, you set up a little account. It takes 2 minutes. I did it today. It takes 2 minutes. And then you get a daily email for 30 days, and you tell them how many seizures your kid had and what kind. You tell them how many seizures your kid had and what kind for 30 days. And they give you a $100 gift card. Very nice. Sounds like a pain in the butt, but it's not possible. Why not? Let's do it. Right? It's the right thing to do. But let me just tell you why it's so exciting. Number one, Praxis is working on a drug. The reason they're doing this now is because they want to understand what our baseline looks like. They want to understand what parent-reported seizures look like. Because if our parent reports with the current drugs that our kids are on looks like this, and then they know that there's somewhere it can go when they give us their better medicine. Here's the problem. If, in fact, it's really hard for our parents to capture and report seizures, it's better that Praxis figures that out now and uses another way to design the trial before they do the trial. Do you see? What Praxis is doing is checking to see if the seizure diary works. And I'm not sure that it does. But the FDA doesn't care about how I feel. The FDA cares about data, right? So the fact that Praxis is investing real money, Ciitizen isn't doing this for free, right? Praxis is paying them to do this work. The fact that Praxis is investing real money to see what our data looks like when parents report seizures so early in the game, you know from episode 58 that we're not going to have a candidate molecule from Praxis until next year, 2023. But they're serious, right? They're thinking about it. They're spending money on it now. It's very exciting news. So it's exciting because that scary story I told you at the top goes away, right? They're going to figure out now if there's enough signal in patient reports that they would use that as one of their primary indicators to design a trial. Very exciting. But it actually gets better. I know this is crazy, hard to believe. It actually gets better. Praxis is looking at 3 different things for SYNGAP1 with Ciitizen. 1, they've licensed our Ciitizen natural history study, right? So they have paid Ciitizen a small fee, and they have gotten all that money, all of that data about our patients. And they're studying it to understand what our patients look like so they can design trials. And Kelly Dalby today said it was amazing. Once we decided to work on SYNGAP, we went to Ciitizen, we signed on that online, they gave us all this data. I had 150 patient data like that. That's exactly what I told you would happen when we launched Ciitizen over a year ago. And it's working. Incredible. Incredible. You got to watch today's webinar. Number 2, we learned in today's webinar, crazy exciting, that Praxis is collecting our EEGs in partnership with Ciitizen. So you might, if you've been paying attention, you know that we talk a lot about EEGs and seeing if EEGs can be a better indicator of our children's illness, right? Maybe there's something in those tracings that we should measure before and after. And maybe if we can measure a reduction in a certain kind of signal in those tracings, maybe then we can understand exactly what's going on with our kids. We learned today, Kelly Dalby and Virginia were talking about how Praxis is paying Ciitizen to collect our EEGs, which is a righteous pain in the tuchus. You do not want to do this work. Thank you, Praxis, for paying Ciitizen to do it for us, to gather that data so that they can analyze our EEGs to see if that's what they should use. And so they got the existing Ciitizen data, they're collecting the EEGs, and now they're asking us to do a patient-reported outcome. So they're going to have all of this data sitting in front of them. The patient-reported seizure tracker, the EEGs, and what's already in our medical records. And then they're going to design a clinical trial. Because none of us want them to have the scientific brilliance. Thank you, Dr. Steve Petru, professors, doctor, whatever. Thank you, Steve, for designing this ASO with them. Have them spend the money on a trial and have that trial fail because it was designed badly. That's what we're managing against here. So what we learned today was that Ciitizen is being paid by Praxis to invite every single family on Ciitizen, to take a 30-day seizure tracker. You need to sign up in August, so just sign up immediately. And then for 30 days, report. My kid had 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, God forbid, of this kind of seizure, or 0. And I've had this question multiple times, and we talked about it in the webinar. I don't really see any seizures in my kid. My kid's on 2, 3, 4 anti-epileptic drugs. Should I really do this? I'm just going to have a bunch of zeros. Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. And I asked Kelly the same question point blank today, and she said, absolutely yes. Why? Because if, in fact, many people in our population will report zeros, the sooner Praxis figures that out, the better, because then they need to look somewhere else to design a clinical trial. And clinical trial design will determine whether or not a therapy that works will be available to our children. It is hugely important. So if you are in Ciitizen, look at the show notes. I will tell you what email to look for. You got it on Monday. Sign up for the seizure tracker immediately. 30 days, you get $100. Thank you, Praxis. And we get better information on how to design trials. If you are not in Ciitizen, I do not know what you are thinking. It is the best registry on earth for SYNGAP. It is the biggest registry on earth for SYNGAP. Drug companies like Praxis and others are using it. I get notified when drug companies get that data. Trust me, it's more than Praxis. And it costs you nothing. Indeed, you make money for signing up for Ciitizen. So get on it, sign up for Ciitizen, and then sign up for the seizure tracker. Because our children are sick and they deserve a better future. And one of the things we can all do, absolutely every one of us, is share our data via Ciitizen to make higher quality clinical trials happen faster. I am so grateful to Praxis and I am so grateful to Ciitizen and I am so excited for this real work to be happening right now. I will put the link to the webinar in the show notes. Please watch it. Please sign up for Ciitizen. Please share your data. Let's work together to make the future for our children better. Let's make it so that the future they've got right now is a baseline and it gets so much better. Let's do it. Sign up now.